Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the latest game-breaking and forever landscape-changing feature that is going to be added to Call of Dragons once the new update hits on July 10th, and that is jumping. Now, what is jumping, some of you may ask? Well, I'll give you the quick TLDR before we really break down everything, and as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us up, because it helps out a lot. So jumping, in short, is where you take a account, a new character, and I'll show you as an example. So let's say that I am going to make a brand new character, and I'm going to make one in, let's say, 424. I make my character there. I then spend the next however many number of days, and we'll get into those details as well, going around doing all of my villages, my caves. I'm going to level my account up to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, whatever that is. I'm going to level the rest of my buildings up to whatever that hard number is that I can't go past. I'm going to level up my heroes. I'm going to do my war pets. I'm going to buy out my VIP shop with resources. I'm going to buy out my wandering merchant, etc. You are going to boost your account up as much as possible, gather as much material, as much resources as possible, and then within that time limit, if you have to move it within 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days, you will then move it to the newest kingdom that has been released. So I make my account of 425, I spend 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days there, and then I move it from 424, let's say to 430 or 434. And what this allows for you to do is to have a character or an account that is at a higher power level than brand new players who are just downloading the game for the first time. I'm sure you can then surmise what this may look like if you have a group of people that are doing this, whether it's 20, 30, 40, 50, 1 alliance, 2 alliance, 3, 4, 5, 6 alliances worth. You kind of get the picture. Now, this is something, to give you a little bit of history here, this is something that has been happening in Rise of Kingdoms from a pretty early stage, and it is massive in Rise of Kingdoms. Just to put things into perspective for you, for how things look like in RoK, is if we go and we take a look here, you will see how massive it is when you look at the amount of projects that are being started from now all the way going back to a day or two. And there's a lot that are happening here from that period. Thank you. And so we end up getting to a point where you have, 20, 30 projects that are happening, and then you look at the amount that are happening beyond a day. It's a lot. If you look at then, we also have project community servers. So you look at, for example, the Jumper community. They have, I think, 5,000 plus people here. RC Kingdom, I think, has 2,000, 3,000 plus. And these are basically Jumper project discords where they are supposed to kind of help and manage the Jumper communities to an extent. But you can also find a lot of projects here. People who are free agents can, or basically people who are looking for projects, right, can find them here, along with projects have an opportunity to recruit. So there's really a lot that goes into it. And this is why it is something that I think has a very high chance of kind of booming or boosting itself to be a very big part of the Call of Dragons ecosystem. And so now let's read what are those specific changes that are going to be coming in the latest update here, at least as a video release in about 4 days, or you could say less than 4 days. So if we go to update 1.0.27, Calling of Courage, we go down to number 8 for other improvements, and we read 8-1. This reads as new beginners migration feature. Players in Season 1 can use Beginner's Migration to relocate their city to any server in the construction phase. I believe construction phase is the first 10 days of a kingdom. That has space for Beginner's Migration users. This is important. This is something that they had kind of always had in RoK, but they kind of later started publicizing it where they would say, well, there's only so many Beginner's Migration items that can be used per kingdom. And so because we don't know what that is, I would like to feel like it's probably going to be somewhere between 500 and 1,000, maybe 500 and 750, because that falls a little bit more in line with what some of the early ranges and then eventually kind of how it got decreased in RoK, right? And again, people have their own theories on how much it is. I don't know if that has ever been confirmed in RoK thus far. Maybe it has. But I would say it's probably somewhere there, give or take, of course. The item will be automatically issued to all newly created characters and will be scrapped when your city reaches level 12, meaning that you can get to level 11, but if you go beyond that, then you lose that item and you won't be able to then move to a newer kingdom. So you can get everything up to level 11 for all your buildings, and then you're just kind of grinding out resources up until that point, or your character reaches 7 days old, which means that you have a second prerequisite or a second restriction which is that you have to basically move your character before the 7-day period. So I would argue it's probably going to average like 5.5 to 6.5 days is what we'll most likely see. Or the Brink of War event, which is your EOTC event from RoK, which is called Eve of the Crusade. It's essentially, as they issued in Brink of War, it's kind of a pre-KVK preparation and competition task challenge event that everyone in the kingdom gets to participate in. And this, if you're thinking about how long Season 1 kingdoms usually average, which is around 75 days, this will probably happen, 10 days before that. So you're probably thinking you have to move your character between day 1 and day 65 on average, right? We'll still have to see exactly when the event opens and releases near, I would imagine, the end of the server or end of the Season 1. And so then let's get to some kind of added points here that will play a factor in benefiting jumper accounts, which is that you're going to have this ability in point 3 here to auto-explore and auto-gather. Auto-explore will be unlocked when your Scout Camp, Ranger Retreat, Centaur Sentry Post reaches level 7, and then auto-gather at level 8. Which again, because you can get to level 11, means you'll be able to most likely take advantage of these. And the idea for these is that it will just help you potentially save time, because you'll be able to go and kind of auto-explore/scout things that are out there, and then potentially auto-gather, which can maybe help you when you're sleeping, or if you have downtime kind of in between your awake time, we'll say. And then we get to the Alliance Market in the Exchange House, which as we scroll up, I believe it's on number 5. And so we'll go here, or maybe it's number 4. Yeah, here we go. So we have the Exchange House. Now this basically is a new feature that's going to be added in on the 10th, where you will be able to exchange coins at the Exchange House to purchase resources. You will also be able to sell resources for gems, which is premium currency. This could be something that you end up seeing utilized as a way for jumper accounts to stay under the storehouse limits and caps, because they won't be able to take anything with them from, and again, I say this most likely, will not be able to take anything with them that exceeds their storehouse capacities from their jumper kingdom to their final kingdom, right, / their first kingdom. And so you'll probably be able to use this, right, to purchase some gems from that. In addition, weekly transport limits and loot limits have been merged. The combined weekly transport loot limit has been increased, can be increased to a maximum of 2 billion at level 25. So essentially, this now makes it a little bit more I don't know if I want to say advantageous, I guess I could, for people who are running farm accounts or multiple accounts, because you will be able to send and or have your main loot up to 2 billion resources that could be going to your main. So I've seen some people that have multiple jumper accounts. They just run a main, and then they'll run alts or farms. And this could be something that ends up happening. And the last thing I want to touch on is New Journey. So New Journey is something that you may be able to use. This, of course, will have to be tested. Keep in mind that the beginner migration item is not out yet, because, again, the update hasn't hit yet. But this is how it works, right? I'll show you a screenshot here. And you'll see that New Journey is an option to create a new character and gain additional rewards. This is how it looks. And the way to basically have this event proc, it's a comeback event, is where you would make a new character and you would wait 3-4 weeks, give or take, however long it takes, for this, which is, it could be around that. And then you don't log into this, so you make the character, you don't log into it, you come back to it in about 3 to 4 weeks. I'm sure people will time this out. And then you hope that this will proc for you. And then you would click go. And then when you click go, as you just saw, right, 400 Kingdom 425 is the newest, you'll be able to take your character to the newest kingdom, and basically that would be your day 1 or Kingdom 1 jumper journey beginning. But what it allows for you to do is to start off with just a couple extra resources. You get 5 gold keys, you get a territory relocation, you get 500 gems, and then you get 300k gold and wood. So it's more like icing on the cake. It's not a hard loss at all. But if you're looking to kind of be a bit more of an overachiever and that 100% Grand Theft Auto adventure completionist, this is something that could benefit you in addition. So this kind of rounds things out now to my final thoughts on jumping being added in Call of Dragons. I will say that one of the things I have enjoyed in Call of Dragons is a number of differentiating features that the game has compared to RoK. As of late, in the past few updates, we have been getting more and more things added from RoK, but more specifically added from other kingdom builders, right? Keep in mind, RoK was not the first kingdom builder to introduce some of these events or some of these features, even if some of them are unique to RoK. Games before RoK, its predecessors, also had very similar features for a number of them. And so, again, to make things easier, though, I understand how it's just an easier way to say, okay, well, let's just look at it from RoK compared to CoD. So something as an example like EOTC, Eve of the Crusade, which is that benefit Brink of War, or that event Brink of War that's coming to the end, right, is something that I like to feel has a little bit more value than adding in something like jumping, per se, where in that, you at least get to increase some engagement, you increase interaction towards the end of a season, which sometimes can be dull at the end of Season 1 because you're just kind of waiting at that point. Things have already settled, fights are done, territories distributed. You're basically just kind of waiting for the KVK to start. Plus, it gets you some extra rewards. I don't know if you can really say like that is an overall bad thing. I think it does more good than it does bad, or has more pros than cons. Jumping is something that really... I don't want to say inflates, it encourages restarts, new starts, and sometimes that can inflate numbers to an extent, or you'll have players that will spread themselves maybe too thin if they're not going to purely restart and play a brand new account. I've seen some people that will keep playing an existing account, but they'll still do a restart and kind of spread themselves, which isn't really kind of adding new players. In my opinion, this is something that really should be taking advantage of for brand new players into the game, compared to where we maybe see a just massive amount of existing players that are doing this. Not to say that they can't or they shouldn't. My view is that like this is more of a benefit for a brand new player to take advantage of, more so than it is for an existing player. But again, people will of course do what they want to do. The other challenge is that when you have boosted accounts going into a kingdom, you may also have this feeling of, well, hey, this is a little bit unfair, from new players that probably don't have any idea what's going on, and then once it's finally explained to them, they get it, and it can be a turnoff, right? Not to say that that's going to be the overwhelming majority opinion for all new players, but it is something that I've seen happen. In addition, by being able to have boosted accounts going into a kingdom, it can also cause things like people to kind of ban against jumper projects, which I've seen in some kingdoms as well. Now, of course, if your project is well-oiled enough, you have enough presence, sometimes it can be difficult for others to potentially kind of rise up or go against you. It also depends on what your project stands for, right? Are you there for the good of the people? Are you there for yourselves, right? Do you just want to have everything, all the resources, all the behemoths? Do you want to share? There's a lot of different approaches to how people can build out projects. And with that in mind, like I said, I think I lean a little bit more on the fence of not having jumping in CoD, because I just don't think that it's needed. I don't think there's anything that is screaming out saying, oh yeah, you know what we absolutely need to add into the game to make it a lot better? Jumping. There was no one really advocating for this on any kind of massive support system where there was just so many people that were upvoting suggestion posts to get jumping added, right? And I very much liked this idea of the game still having some level of it differentiating itself and just general differences between RoK. And as we now start to get just a little bit more closer to adding more things, and this isn't to say that I think everything that RoK has to offer should never be considered or added to CoD, but I do think that things really have to be appropriately assessed, where you're adding things that are going to invest into Call of Dragons' unique direction and vision, rather than adding things from another kingdom builder, even if it's successful, just because we think it may be successful in Call of Dragons, when we may not have fully assessed or understood the entirety of the community's desires and wants and this unique games ecosystem, and once again, the direction that it's trying to go in and trying to furthermore differentiate itself between RoK in a number of ways. And I just hope that we don't lose sight of that and that continues to stay intact. Of course, I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. That's going to be it for me. As always, until next time, I'll catch y'all later.